Roll camera, roll sound.
Dr. Sayeba, thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
So we'll start with the easy questions. When is your date of birth and where were you born?
My date of birth is 1st March 1953. So I born actually in my grandmother's house in Chittagong, in Bahadara.
Okay. And tell us about when you were young, where you grew up, where you went to school.
Actually, my father was a professor in a college, in the Sadat College, which is a very renowned college in the country, which started from the British time. And so I had grown up in the campus of the college campus. There was a college residence of the professors, and there was a campus. So I grew up on that campus. It is completely an academic atmosphere I have grown up. And I started in a school which is not really a good school because I started my education in Tangar Bindu Kulashini Girls School, which is a very renowned, very old school. But when I was in third class, I have been shifted to Kodutiara, where my father was working. And that was a school really, I was the second batch. So it was not a very good standard school. But anyway, because of my father was working there, we had to shift it to that school.
So when did you know that you wanted to be a doctor?
Actually, I became a doctor, which is mainly my father's wish. He was actually started medical education when he was a self-made person because he lost his father and mother at the age of 6 years. Then he was a completely self-made person. He started education in medical school, but there was some problems in the British time, revolution against British. So he doesn't want to speak English, really. So she left the medical school and joined general education. And then he wanted all our siblings to be doctors. But they all refused. I was the last daughter, youngest daughter. See, he really wanted me to be a doctor, and I have to be a doctor because to fulfill his wish.
But was there ever anyone who said that, no, you shouldn't be a doctor?
Not really.
Okay.
Because my mother was very encouraging.
So then where did you study medicine?
In Chittagong Medical College.
Okay. And then where did you first start your career?
Actually, after finishing my graduation, I started during our time in service training was a service. So I started in Chittagong Medical College, and then I was a lecturer for a short time. Then I started my postgraduate education 2 years. Not 2 years, actually 1.5 years after my graduation in IPJ, which is Kubangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Medical University now.
Okay. So then when did you start practicing as a doctor?
Well, after, if you say about my educational career, after I did the FCPS from Bangladesh College of Physician and Surgeon, and then I studied in England, in Liverpool. School of Tropical Medicine. I did my reproductive health diploma from there.
Okay. So what drew you to reproductive health in particular? Why not just general medicine?
I did my post-graduation in obstetrics and gynae.
Okay.
But, I feel I was always interested in public health, Actually, I told you I became a doctor for the wish of my father, but I was not really interested at the beginning. But in the third year, when I came in contact with the patient, and I started feeling that it's really, they're so poor in respect of their problems, not only financial. So I was really started thanking my father that he put me in medicine. And then I realized that the problems of the women are more poorer than others. So that's why I choose obstetrics and gynecology. And I became, so it is an opportunity for me to work with the women. So when I started doing the clinical practice, I realized that it's not only the clinical work, but prevention is also very important. So I grew my interest in reproductive health. That though it was a short course in England, but really it was very motivating for me to have my involvement in public health works. I was not only working as an obstetrician and gynecologist, but I also worked as an advocate for the adolescent health, for the women-friendly health initiative of Bangladesh. That was actually my brainchild. In a conference, I came out with this idea that the hospitals in our country are really not women-friendly. So it is now in the government programs. So I was the one who came out with this idea, and then from the conference, and UNICEF supported it. And adolescent health also is a very important issue. So I did the advocacy workshops and seminars throughout the whole country from our society. I was at that time Secretary General of Obstetrics and Gynecology Society of Bangladesh, OGS. So, and that reproductive health course was really very important for me in directing me to get more involved with these issues, important issues.
So how do you think the attitude towards reproductive health has changed since you began working?
Yeah, it has changed definitely a little bit. Changed, though not a lot, but it has changed. During our time, we never used to, when I had my first period, I never knew that it could be happened to the girl. And it was so frustrating and so, actually, I can say, I was so afraid when I had it. So it was the common practice from all my friends at that time. Nobody used to say anything. Still, in many places, in many houses, nobody say it. So the knowledge about it, anything about which is really physiological, was completely unknown to the girls. So nowadays, different organizations, NGOs, even government also started talking about the reproductive health, because they should know what is going to be happening to them, and then they can handle it properly. They can protect themselves from many programs.
Okay. So then we'll come to Sayeba's method. So you invented this in 2000. How did this idea come about?
Actually, when I was doing the obstetrics and clinical obstetrics practices, it was really frustrating. So many patients was dying in front of us, and we were so helpless. When I was really started my training, I always remembered that woman. She had bleeding after the childbirth, and the bleeding was so much that from the hospital floor, it came to the garden. She was bleeding so much. We had transfused about 40 units of blood. We had transfused it, and she was bleeding, and she died. We couldn't do anything for her. That I never forget, and it's not the only case. Many mothers was dying for postpartum. And in one of our training course, it is called MOI course from England, and one balloon catheter, Bakri balloon, was brought from the England, and they showed it. But it was more than 300. It was Rush balloon actually. It was so expensive and not available. Even if it is available, it's not affordable for Bangladesh. So.
যদি আনসার করতে হবে
না অ্যান্সার করতে হবে শব্দটা হচ্ছে শব্দটা বন্ধ করে দেবে সাউন্ড আমার মনে হয় সাউন্ড একটু লো করে দিই তাহলে ওটা শোনা
আমি সাইলেন্ট করবো না সাইলেন্ট করবো না
সাইলেন্ট আছে ভাইব্রেশনটা বন্ধ করবে
rush balloon rush balloon
brush balloon. And then it was made for single use. They use for once.
okay
But we was using it, sterilizing it in our own way, and then reusing it, and we have saved many women. One day we lost it, and then whole night I couldn't sleep. I was thinking, if any patient again had bleeding, what should I do? Then suddenly it came in my mind that condom is a medical device, and sometimes children in Bangladesh inflate the balloon, condom and play as a balloon. I told, as it is a medical device, whether I can put it inside the uterus and inflate it and can stop bleeding. Then I tried that what is the strength of condom. I never had idea. So what I did, I brought a condom and I put saline into it. And I put 1 liter of saline, tied it, and I was trying to rupture it. I couldn't. Then I asked my juniors who was working in, I tried to rupture it. Nobody can rupture it. So I had confidence that condom has very good tensile strength, so it is very strong. Just 1 or 2 days before, next day when I was making, I have a practice that whenever I go in the hospital, I used to do a quick round to see whether there is any immediate problem so that I can help them to solve it. So in the theatre, what is going on in the cesarean theatre, they told our resident doctor is going to remove the uterus of a lady who is bleeding so much they couldn't control it. And that was her first baby, and baby was still dead baby, she delivered. So if her uterus is removed, her reproductive health really, how much damage it was done, it would be done. Then I asked one of my internee, go quickly to the family planning and bring a condom. And then I asked them, please wait for me, let me change and come inside and try. Then I tied it with the catheter and put it inside the uterus and inflated it with the saline. And immediately she was actually pouring like it did the blood bleeding. They was wanted to remove the uterus to save her life.
right
And immediately the bleeding stopped. Then I think, eureka, we got it. So, and after that we started using it. Then suddenly it came in my mind, I must make some evidence. So I started the study with a group of my junior doctors, my fellows. And then I published it in an online international journal. And after I published it, there is a lot of repercussion among the people who are actually working in the maternal health. Never knew it, but suddenly I got an invitation to give a speech on this method and to do a workshop among the participants in the Bangkok. So that was the first international platform where I introduced this device. Before that, actually, I think if I do it for my patients, the other patients in the other hospitals they will not know and will not advise. So I approach UNICEF that in the training program, maternal use emergency obstetrics training program, I introduce it. And I train many doctors throughout the country, medical officers who are working on this device. So it was, they are using in the country, but in the but in the international platform, that Bangkok, it was organized by Japaico, FIGO, International Nurses Associations, and many organizations together. WHO was there. So in that platform, when I speak on it and I do the workshop, it was really appreciated. And then FIGO invite me in Cape Town to speak on it. In that way, in Kenya also, one of my Actually, I have another interest, very fistula.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about fistula?
Yes, I'm going to ask you about it.
So I spoke in the Kenya, in Africa also, I went
Right.
to Ethiopia. Wherever I go, and I just let them a little bit talk about it because people can get benefited out of it.
And when was Sayeba's method included in the WHO guidelines?
It was in 2009.
Okay.
Actually, 2009 they included it, but they wanted more rigorous investigations.
Right. So I think finally,
Yeah, now it is included.
okay, so finally with the 2012,
12 guideline it was included.
Okay.
In that guideline also it was included, but they told we cannot recommend unless there is
Right.
more evidence.
Right.
So by that time, in different part of the world, there are many studies on it, and then 2012 WHO recommended.
Okay. So it's been 15 years since your paper was published in
2003, so
so
15 years, more than 15 years.
Yeah. So how accessible do you think Sayeba's method is, especially in rural areas in Bangladesh?
Actually, it needs more training, you know.
Right.
Sometimes they use it, but they do it not properly. They don't follow the steps, and sometimes, you know, condom when we inflate it inside the uterus because the water saline is heavy, sometimes it fall down in the vagina,
Yeah.
came out in the vagina. So what is called migration of the condom in the vagina. If it is not within uterus, it will not work.
Right.
And many people say they cannot put it properly. So it really needs a lot of training, not for the doctors only, or many doctors also actually don't know properly how to do it. But especially the people who are working in the field, in the peripheral area. Not only peripheral, actually even in cities also, sometimes, many times they don't know.
Right. So what do you think needs to be done?
I think it should be incorporated in the government program, a training program, a part of the training program so that we can disseminate it properly.
Right.
These methods originated from Bangladesh. So the maternal death from postpartum haemorrhage should be less in Bangladesh.
Right.
But practically we are not seeing it. So I feel very bad sometimes. I feel guilty also that I should also try, but I need the help of government. It should be, unless it goes through the government, only through the personal or private initiatives, it's not possible to cover the whole country. Not only government, definitely government, and also simultaneously the other agencies, because our health services, private services, a big impact on the maternal health in Bangladesh.
But also because doctors aren't the only ones delivering babies, right? There are midwives, there are...
Yes,
a
I'm
lot
telling
of
that not
different
only
family
doctors,
members,
our
right.
FWB, midwives who are delivering,
Right.
even the CSP, community skilled birth attendants, and the cadre government form who are delivering at home, they also should know.
Right.
Anybody, it's so simple method. Anybody who knows how to deliver a woman can really do this device, can use this device for control of postpartum.
Okay, so now we'll talk about the Fistula Institute. So you started MAM, Institute of Fistula and Women's Health, in 2012. You took voluntary retirement. Why did you do it?
Actually, this initiative for fistula was my another area of interest. It grows. When I was in medical school, I just know the disease to pass my exam.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know the inside of that disease. But one of my teacher, Professor Sayeba Akhter, she died. She's no more with us. She was doing fistula surgery, We are assisting and observing. I couldn't understand that fistula is a very difficult surgery. The technique of the surgery, not that much. But we have to do the postoperative management of the patient, clerking of the patient. So when I was doing it, I used to chat with them a lot, and I came to know the pain they have really from this fistula. How much they have been neglected by their family, by the husband, even by the siblings, not only by the neighbors, siblings. It is only the parents who used to support them. So from at that time, I was very emotional. I was thinking that whenever I will get a chance, I will do something for the fistula. Afterwards, I started my post-graduation. I was busy with my career, and actually the IPGML where I was working, there was no fistula cases, so I was almost forgetting it. But when I was, as an associate professor, joined Borishal Medical College, there, I saw the fistula patients again, and then I remember that this is a chance. I had my unit, and I was in charge of head of the department. So I selected 8 beds for the. At that time, I have the power to do it for the fistula patients only. So actually, these fistula patients of Borishal were my real teachers who let me learn the fistula surgery on their body. I used to read the books. I did not have proper training. I used to read the book. Whole night I was imagining how I can close it. Then I was operating it. At the beginning, I didn't have much success, but gradually my result gets improved. And then I went to transfer to Mymensingh Medical College, where also I make a unit for the fistula patients. And then when I went in the reproductive health course, John Kelly, a renowned urologist who used to work in Addis Ababa Fistula Hospital, he was teaching us about the fistula. So I was really getting crazy. As soon as he finished, I ran to him to please give me an address and link me with the Addis Ababa Fistula Hospital. I want to go there. I want to see how they do it and how they make this hospital. In my mind, that how can I set up in Bangladesh? Then after coming from England, I was posted in Dhaka Medical College. And in Dhaka Medical College, I really begged door to door to make a special facility for fistula. Because in my unit I was doing fistula, but I have trainees. And most of that theatre was occupied by the fistula patients. Suddenly I realized that trainees need to know all the subjects, not only fistula. It may be my interest, but for the interest of the trainees, I can't do only fistula. So I think I realized I need to have a special facility for the fistula where I can work, but the trainees also in our theatre get opportunity. Then, from when I went Addis Ababa from Dhaka Medical College. There the medical director, I told him how you made this hospital, give me an idea, I like to make it established as facility in Bangladesh. He gave me an idea that approach UNFPA, they have a mandate for maternal health. If you approach them, they may help you. So I talked to the UNICEF people at that time there, and they told, okay, you give me as a concept paper. So I wrote a concept paper where I put all the components, not only the surgery, but the training and rehabilitations, everything. And I have to rewrite, according to their policy, I have to write it 5 times, I have to revise it. And then, UNFPA convinced, and I spoke with the government people also. They had very negative attitude at the beginning. Sometimes I used to come back and was crying because they behaved me so badly. That was really difficulties for me. Anyway, fortunately, with the fund of the UNFPA, government agreed, and we have established our National Fistula Center. That was my first initiative to have a fistula center in Bangladesh. And that center, as I incorporate the training there, I told, please, one day I will die, and other people who are doing fistula will die. But there are so many fistulas, so unless we train people, unless we develop the human trained person, that will not be addressed. So it became the international training center from Nepal, East Timor, India, Pakistan. People came for training in our center. And after retirement, I don't have the opportunity to work regularly for the fistula specialist. So I was thinking, what can I do? My brother told me actually long before when I was failing, that nobody was helping me in developing the National Fistula Center. My husband is really very supporting. Without my father, mother was very supporting, and my husband also very supported. Once I went in Italy for a conference in violence against women, because I worked for the violence against women in Bangladesh. And at that time he called me from Bangladesh. I got a land, can I buy it for your fistula hospital? So he bought it, but unfortunately government acquired that land where the Uttaras 2 is there now. So I bought another land for the fistula hospital, but there was some case filed between the siblings, so I couldn't get it yet. Then my brother is an anesthetist. He was always encouraging me. Then when after retirement, I told I can't wait for a permanent setup. I started for a hired place at least. I like to start. I'm really dying for it. My brother, and really my husband told, and he says, if you start, it will be too much stress for you. They was anxious about my stress. So, I just cried and go out, that if people don't help, I can't do it. Then they decided to help me for doing it. It is actually a hired place. My mom's Institute of Fistula and Invention is in a hired. Anyway, if I don't start it, otherwise I couldn't do it till now, Then actually they helped me, and then I can't do it alone. Everybody, my doctors. Now in our hospitals, we have 3 doctors whom we are paying, 4 doctors, 1 anesthetist and 3 doctors whom we are paying. And all the consultants who are doing surgery, taking care of the patients, are all voluntary. We don't need to pay anything for them. Otherwise it was very difficult for me. My brother is an anesthetist, he is doing voluntary job. My husband is a nephrologist. He is also giving voluntary service. So, and many of my doctors, my students who became, now they are professors, but they are, today also one of the professors from England is coming to do one fistula in our hospital.
And you offer training as well as treatment?
Yes, training and treatment. I started rehabilitation a little bit, and actually the female education is important. That comes from my father. My father, we are 4 sisters and 2 brothers. My 2 brothers are younger than me. They are the last. My father used to tell my mother, don't look at your sons. If they can't study, they can go and do labor job in the street and they can maintain their life. But make your daughters strong enough to stand up on their own, because you don't know where they will go and how their life will. So educate your daughters more. And my mother was very serious for our education. So I have actually one school in Gaibanda for 20 girls. Actually it's not a school, it is a center. It is within campus of a madrasa or a school where they are studying everything, English, Bangla, maths, everything, where they don't have any girls. So they are my distant relatives. I took one place and I built a place for the girls. So I keep the girls and they are studying there. And I also had a orphanage, girl orphanage in Dhaka. Now I shifted that to a school because they have grown up and I cannot continue that study. So we are paying for them, but they're studying in the school.
And where would you like to see Mom in the future?
Actually, my institute's name is Mom Institute of Fistula and Invention. My actual dream was that after a few years there will be no fistula. So when the Bangladesh, my main goal is to make the Bangladesh fistula free. I keep women's cells so that I can do many things more for the women. In fistula hospital we don't do only fistula surgery. We have patients from during the childbirth. Women have many problems. We address all the problems, including the incontinence, both urinary and fecal incontinence. Some women have prolapse of the uterus, and the uterus drop down, and some have vaginal stenosis, so they cannot live their life, and some have pain and tear. So all the problems at this moment, but my dream that I will address other problems of the women in future. And we started a little bit about the cancer screening and also train the doctors and rehabilitation also. I have a dream also too. I started rehabilitation in my hospital. In my hospital, 2 of my staff, though they have physical limitations, are fistula patients. And one of them is studied class 8, so I am enrolling her for, I want her to see as a nurse who really understands. She's a very nice girl. Her husband left her, so she can help our patients.
So reproductive health is still a bit of a taboo issue in Bangladesh. What advice would you give young girls who are nervous about asking questions or think that they shouldn't? Or what resources do you think they can use, or what resources? Who should they ask? And what can be done to?
Actually, I have done the school programs in many schools of Bangladesh, including Vikarnas and other schools, Dhangali Government Girls School and also Kumudini Girls School and College. But I usually used to say girls that there are many thieves in our country who steal the people's things. They should be shy. It's physiological. The way we drink, the way we eat, menstruation and reproductive problems are also physiological. If you have any question, why you hesitate? You ask someone, you can ask your mother, your sisters. And nowadays, internet is, the problem is internet, they can get correct information and sometimes incorrect information. But it is incorporated in the curriculum also. The problem in our education is teachers don't teach them the whatever reproductive health things are in the book. They don't really teach them
they
the
tell
proper.
them to read the chapter.
Yeah, not at
They
all.
won't teach it.
So that we not only ask the girls, we should do advocacy the teachers. They should understand that it's no more a taboo in this world where people are doing cloning and so many things is going on. Why should we things which is really physiological and girls need to know it?
Do you think it's also important for young boys and men to
Not only
learn
girls,
about
yes, very important.
menstruation?
For the boys also. Unless the boys also knows it, young people also knows it. It's not only the issue of girls. Reproductive health is both for boys and girls. As I am gynecologist, I am talking about the girls, but the points of the boys is also very important. If the boys knows, it's not only protective for them, it's also protective for the girls.
And finally, for young girls who want to be doctors like you, what advice would you give them?
I always do that. It's not the, I never want them to be like me. They should be much better than me. I always tell them, our students also, that, please don't go in the library and continue to study. The system in Bangladesh especially, is they read so much, but they don't have correlation with the patient. Actually, if you want to know a disease, sit by the side of a patient and study the disease and the book and the patient. Both is resource. The patient is also a big resource, and your book, unless you have knowledge, if you don't understand. So sit by the side of them and study it. Then you will be really a good doctor.
Would you like to ask anything?
Thank you so much. This has been...
Our voice is খুব বেশি low, না?
No.
It's my voice always is a little bit low all the time.
No, it was perfectly clear. I have a request and a question. My request would be, when the phone rang, you were talking about the balloon. When the telephone rang, you were talking about the balloon, and I think the video is spoiled. Can you just say that part again? How the
rush balloon?
Yeah, how the doctors brought the rush balloon, and how you were reusing it, and how you lost it. Just that part, if you could say again. And then my question is, you spoke about your work, advocacy for adolescent health, and also violence against women. So
I was the focal point of, actually I was the program manager of governments for adolescent girls, and I was the focal point of programs on violence against women from our society. So I did workshops throughout the whole country. Not everywhere, but all institutes, but not involving only the doctors, but all the stakeholders, like housewives, media peoples, school teachers, and then journalists and businessmen, everybody in the advocacy workshop for the violence against women.
And how do you address a problem like that has such deep roots? Because
actually, what our experience as a gynecologist, we have many experience. Most of the violence, when it happens in the street, that we came to know, sometimes and sometimes not. But most violence is domestic violence. Mainly the girls are violated. Not only the girls, boys also violated in the domestic atmosphere. And now it becomes, I don't know, because of the satellite or something, the outside violence becomes so much. So actually, importance is government needs to very strict laws against it, unless there is an example or sets up an example punishment for this. It will never be worse. And in addition, advocacy from the schools, from the home, parents, teachers, that should be, that is very important.
Do you also think a problem is that our government doesn't recognize a lot of...
It doesn't acknowledge,
it doesn't acknowledge marital rape as a problem or things like that. So, did you ever see any, while speaking at these things, did you ever notice a certain reluctance to address those issues? Or
the marital rape or other domestic violence, the violence against women. This is the problems with understanding of the women also. Women doesn't want the justice for that. They don't like to go for the justice for them. I'll give you one example. One of our patients admitted who have a ruptured uterus because husband kicked on her tummy when she was pregnant. So we wanted to inform the police. It was regular rule in the hospitals. There is such sort of virus, you should inform the police. The women told, I don't like to get your treatment. I like to go home with this ruptured uterus and I don't need your treatment. We will file a case, police will got my will get and get my husband and put him in the jail. What will happen with my 4 more children who are at home? I don't like your treatment. You cannot solve my problems. My problem is much more than this ruptured uterus. So I don't like your treatment. She begged to me not to inform police. Actually, unless you improve the situation, not only the understanding, situation of the women, the main thing is women's education. Unless you educate the women, make them economically independent, the problem is not solved. In addition to advocacy, other advocacy, the most important is their education and their empowerment.
It's a big journey. But your story has been, like, I've been sitting here listening, thinking it's really amazing.
You know, my mother, she was you understand, Jomidar family in the Chitral. And my grandmother was a lady who is from Lucknow, and they had been settled in Burma, and my my grandfather married her, and she was very, enthusiastic, and she sent my mother in the school. And my grandfather's elder sister, she was also a wife of a Jamidar, and she came to know that she has been. She told, how can we, our family's daughter can go outside the house? At that time my mother was a small girl, and she came and stopped her education. But she was so much interested for education, She used to learn from her brother wherever the source came. One only example I told how much she was interested. She told, whenever I was looking at the sky, she told, if I can get the sky in my hand and in their pond there, if my pond was, if it will be the ink, I will write the whole sky with the ink. And when she was done, she was dreaming it. That much interested. And for us, how much she was make herself educated till class 8. All the subjects, English, maths, Bengali, everything, history, geography was taught by my mother, who never went in school. From class 9, when we have elective maths and other subjects, then we have to take help from the teachers. But till class 8, my father was a professor, but he never taught us a single word. He was busy with his own students. My mother was our real teachers.
Thank you.
Oh, about the balloon, no?
Yes.
Yes, you want
No, I think I have a lot of questions about the schools that you run, but that's more logistical questions for us because we want to make. Because with the books, we will have the Bangla book, and also we will have a lesson plan for the book. So the mission is to teach gender equality to girls and to boys, ages 10 and 11. Slowly, we start with history, because that is accessible to everybody, and then maybe in the future to come out with material about female reproductive health for adolescents. And then also there is a manufacturer of reusable sanitary napkins.
That's so little idea about it.
Yeah.
Even I think myself when I was young. I have actually my initial education during the Varshney where I started was a good school, but the school I educated, I was studied in my school. When I was in class 5, there are girls who was maybe 10 years senior to me, and they got married in class 5. So it was not a good combination, So maybe 4, 5 of our classmates became graduated, and So it was not that good school. My schooling was not good, but while my father was working, that was a very good college. So from a school which is not at all good, coming to a college which is very renowned at that time was a really struggle for me to cope with it. But my opportunities, my home education was different. My mother was so much enthusiastic, and though she doesn't have any formal education, she was really educated by herself. And so she used to cover that.
I think that's really the most important thing, the desire to learn and to always learn.
And she had really very good technique. She never, if you don't understand, she never get angry. She don't know. My father, he was very brilliant actually. He break the record of, from Aligarh he studied, and he break the record of 14 years and became first class gold medalist. So he was at that level. We none of us was his level. So my mother always told, I don't need to be a very brilliant student. I need to be very organized and average, or a little bit more than average student. So my father, even we make one mistake, he got mad. But my mother had very good patience. She told, if you don't understand, she will tell again and again. She had very good patience in teaching.
How many were you?
4 sisters and 2 brothers.
4 sisters.
And my mother was very determined to make us all master degree. She was more targeting the girls.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, all of us, brothers and sisters, could make it, could fulfill her dream.
That's an amazing story.
So,
Yes.
about the condom you want to...
About getting the rush balloon?
Yes,
Yeah.
just that part, if you could say.
In a training program on emergency obstetrics care for the control of postpartum haemorrhage, in Western country they use a balloon called rush balloon, which was brought in Bangladesh by a consultant. And that during the training we teach the students about its use, but we don't have any balloon. And one balloon only after the training he left to me. I was wanted to keep it to teach afterwards to our students. And we used to use it several times, though it was a single time use balloon. And then at one time we lost it. And the day we lost it, the same day actually, one of my patients, who is 18 years girl, she had eclampsia and she had severe postpartum haemorrhage. She died, could not save her. She was bleeding so much. And when I was managing her, I was just thinking, if I could have that balloon, I could save this girl. Then that whole night I couldn't sleep. I was thinking that again the girls, women will die in front of me. I was really wanted to leave my job. I can't see it anymore. Then suddenly came in my mind at the midnight that I have seen the boys are inflating the condom like a balloon and playing it. I was thinking condom is a medical device, and if it can be inflated like a balloon, maybe if I can inflate it within the uterus, it would be possible to stop the bleeding. So I tried it with the saline, putting it 1 liter of saline, and I confirmed about the strength of condom. And then next day, 1 or 2 days afterwards, when I was making round in my ward, in the cesarean theatre, I asked the doctor what is going on. They told our resident doctor is going to remove the uterus of a lady who is bleeding profusely. I told him, please stop it, let me come in after changing my dress. So I went inside, collected 1 condom and tied it with a catheter and put it inside her uterus and inflated it with saline, and immediately bleeding stopped. And we saved the lady and also her uterus. I was so happy after Eureka we got it. And after that we started using it and did the studies, published it in the Mediscape International online journal. And I think afterwards.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you know if the lady had children afterwards?
Hmm?
Did this lady have children afterwards? You don't know.
Then not that lady, but I have another patient, When these things coming in paper, she called me that I am one of your patients. She was having, this postpartum haemorrhage in her after her first childbirth, and then she had severe bleeding. I put condom net on her, and her uterus was saved. And after that, she had 2 more children.
Oh, fantastic.
And she is still keeping contact with me.
That is beautiful.
That lady, I don't know. She came from village, and then at that time we don't have these mobile facilities, and she got.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Should I turn on the